Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. My name is Harpal Singh, and we're talking to a number of people here about perinatal and art therapy. I'd just like to introduce my guest, coming from Prabjot Kaur, an artist, a master's in art psychotherapy, working for NHS schools, domestic violence services and charities. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Prabjot, just a bit more about you, your background, how you're doing, what's going on, and how you link to mental health.
So, I think I come from quite a typical background of whatever you would call typical in the Sikh community, and I thought I was going to be a dentist. Went through quite a few stages in life that really were challenging, and I really seek solitude in making artwork, just like Jaspal spoke about earlier on in the show. And so it brought me to the light of art psychotherapy, and I ended up doing a master's, and now I'm a qualified art psychotherapist working in the NHS and charities, like you have said.
Why the transition from dentistry to mental health?
Sure.
Why?
I found that what I was doing wasn't making me happy. And I think you can feel a lot of pressure in society to conform and try and be the best and do the best. And an idea of perfection can exist in trying to reach that. And, you know, there's something that Sanat Kaur really says about, in Gurbani, it says about the imperfections or where the beauty lies. And being able to hold that. And it was that, and realizing that for myself, and that I wasn't happy, that I needed to seek something that was more fulfilling to me and provided me the ability to do seva at the same time, that I decided to become an art psychotherapist.
So, art therapy has become your seva?
Yes, it has indeed.
How?
So, just to kind of talk about art therapy, because I think lots of people might have their own views about what it is. Art psychotherapy, we use art as a medium of expressing internal values, feelings, emotions, conflicts that exist for us and experiences. And by using art, we're not using language, and language can have a barrier. It can go to a certain point. And what exists within us, what feelings exist within us, go beyond words. And so it's using art to be able to kind of access that. And what I found is that everyone is creative. Everyone has played at some point in their life, and what art therapy is doing is just accessing your ability to do that again. You do not need to be an artist to do art therapy, and so it's really much something that anybody and everybody can embrace.
Fantastic words there from Prabjot Kaur. They're talking about art therapy and how it's allowed her to embrace what she needs to do and talk about the internal, bring it out on paper without needing to actually voice it, which can be a quite difficult thing. Prabjot ne sanu dassega कि वो art therapy करती है कि art दे विच काफ़ी हुनर होंदा है बंदे नू बोलना नहीं पैंदा पर अब जो अंदर दी गल हैगी ना और वो पेंटिंग दे रूप विच या आर्ट दे रूप विच ना दस सकदे है तो वो भी काफ़ी एक अहम चीज़ होंदी है कि तुसीं दसना कि की हो रहा है बिना बोलिया तो बिना बोले सब कुछ जानने तो या तो मारा जानते या art therapist जानते हैं but just Paul, coming back to you about art therapy, mentioned before the ad break, art therapy, what is it for you? And Prabjot mentioned it's a seva. Do you see it as a seva?
I think we're quite blessed with seeing it in that way. It keeps you, any work where you're kind of working with someone at almost the worst points of their life, like the most traumatic, the most difficult, in the dukh. When you're in that, it keeps your head nima, and I think it can only be viewed as seva when you have that much love for it. And I think I would completely agree with what you said, that it feels like this is a huge blessing in terms of seva. So when I go to work every day and everybody I meet, I think I try to, it's a bit wrong to say it almost, but to try to keep yourself at a level where you can learn as much as possible from people. Even though people are coming to you for help, I think they have the biggest amount to teach us, and if we remember that, then those kind of relationships will always grow, and people will feel better when they leave, because you're just giving them that love. And I think that is part of the seva to me.
Okay. It's an interesting point you made there about seva and how you find your work as a seva. There's not many jobs you can go out there that you can see it being a seva, and it's really heartwarming to understand that being a therapist that you guys are, and actually bringing your own sikhi into the terms and making it your own seva that you do for the sarbat. Art therapy for me, I've had quite a few people talking about talking therapies and CBT. What's art therapy compared to talking therapy or CBT or psycho something dynamic? How does it compare?
Is this mine or yours? I think Prabhjot started to think about it in terms of the difference between art therapy and other interventions, and even before the show we were speaking about CBT, and you were saying about how it's cognitive, so it's in your mind, it's thinking, and I think it takes a certain level of working through your distress to be able to access that psychology and thinking. Whereas with art therapy, like Prabhjot was saying, you sometimes you don't know what's wrong. You don't know how to put it into words. And the reason why you don't know how to put it in words, because the way our brains have worked around that trauma, it's kind of locked. It's locked here. So any difficulties we've had, it gets locked here. And it's different from the way the area of the brain which uses verbal communication. So how can we expect everybody, it doesn't suit everybody, but how can we expect everybody to sit across the table and say, tell me about what's happened to you, tell me about your life, where literally it's hidden and locked away. And what art therapy does is it allows someone to be more free and spontaneous with help and with guidance, expressing that, and then for the art therapist and the client to work together to find collective meaning. And that's where I think it differs from other types of therapies, because you're going beyond words, like Prabhjot was saying. It's not, I mean, it has parts in the medical model, but I think it's shifting away from that. And I think the way we practice is not medicalized, so we focus on the individual, we focus on their strengths and attributes, and listening to the things that they're not saying. So being very aware, and that's where it can be very different to what is said in a typical psychology session.
Prabhjot, coming back to you and this using art therapy, you've qualified and got a master's in art psychotherapy. There's loads of other interventions out there.
Sure.
Why art therapy?
So just elaborating on the point which leads into this question, art making uses senses, and what we have found out through research is that your memories is stored as visuals. So through using art materials, you're able to then activate senses, because you're touching, you're feeling, you're cutting, you're doing all these different means of creating artwork. And through doing that, you then are able to kind of activate memories at the back of your mind that you haven't had access to, or things will start clicking for you that you didn't know made sense to you before. And it's called active participation. That ability to actively participate and be involved and actually doing something really activates a conversation and a dialogue about experiences that have actually really hurt a deep part of our soul, or, you know, a loss that's really damaged us and really hurt us. And as art therapists, we're not there to fix. We don't work off of this idea that you're broken and you need to be fixed. We work over the idea that this is your experience and this is your life, and how can we work to make things more stable, your emotional and your well-being more stable.
So, Jaswal, what does it take to become an art therapist?
It's a funny question, because there's the normal standard answer, and then there's the sort of hippie answer, which I feel is important, because it takes a lot of giving, it takes a lot of your soul. I like that word. It takes a lot of your heart and soul into being able to want to connect to someone. I don't think we can naturally with everybody, but I think that kind of experience, like I said, working with someone in that level of distress, is important. So mental health experience, working with others, giving in difficult situations. So getting some experience within hospitals, within services which work with vulnerable people is essential, I believe. To go onto the path, it's a postgraduate, it's a master's level, and the reason why they've done that, and you kind of have to be a little bit older as well, so you have an undergraduate degree maybe in something to do with art. Mine was nursing and psychology, and that was okay for them. So going into that program, but also committing to having your own personal therapy. And I'm a big advocate for being able to say very, very openly that, okay, mum, dad, I'm sorry, I can't go to this function, I've got therapy. And it's become the norm because I'm not ashamed of it. So I think managing your own personal therapy so you stay reflective, because if you go into a session with somebody and they're feeling so much duk that they almost that you carry it on yourself, to protect yourself and to understand the pain they're feeling, you need to be able to think about your own experiences and how you relate, and that happens within personal therapy. So that's definitely part of the program, but it's something that I would advocate for way before, if you were going to think about going into this profession, a deep understanding, because I think we get quite confused with, oh, you're just going to come along and do a bit of painting with someone, and it can feel quite traumatic for other people in that space when they don't have the training.
Well, before I spoke to you guys, literally my thought was you go in, paint an apple and go home. That was my understanding.
We paint bananas for others.
Probably paint a lot of fruits. But those for the Asian community, who we're now talking in the mental health perspective of something different. We're moving away from just talking now to actually fully looking into expressing yourself. So ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ art therapy देख रहे हैं, अभी एक हुनर है, काफ़ी एपिसोड कर चुके हैं जिथे ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ जाके किसी नाल जाके बोलो भी, जाके अपना मन हल्का करो, देखो की है। हुण असीं आर्ट थैरेपी की गल करेंगे जो सिर्फ तुहानूं लोड़ नहीं कि पूरी तरह बोलना है, पर तुसीं अपनी जो कागज़ कलम लैके है ना, अपने जो मन की थोड़ी कुछ है उहदे उत्ते तुसीं लिखो या उहदे उत्ते पेशगी करो। तो उस बाद जसपाल ते प्रभजोत होनी दसेंगे कि किद्दां ओह फिर असीं अगे जाके दसेंगे कि की हुंदा है। सो कमिंग बैक टू प्रभजोत, what happens in a session with you?
What happens in a session?
Yeah.
So
how does art therapy work?
we're quite diverse. Everyone has their own style of working, and that again, it's to do with you can't not bring your authentic self within the therapy session. So there will be elements of that, but usually we have like assessment sessions where you kind of see how you click with the clients that you work with, see how comfortable they feel talking to you, expressing with you. And in some sessions you might come in and create loads of artwork, and in other sessions you might not make any artwork. And it's not, again, I want to emphasize, it isn't about how well you draw. It is not a competition, because none of that matters within the space. It's about what you've drawn, what experience you have of making what you have made, whether that's using paint and throwing it around on the wall, or whether that is just using felt tip pens and wanting to keep it very contained. And it talks a lot about how you emotionally feel and how you need the support, and the therapist then helps to kind of direct that and hold that for you.
Just bringing you back and your focus of how art therapy has affected people, especially with women, young women in perinatal care. Do you mind exploring that thought?
Yeah, so we were often sort of told this at university, trust the process, and it's a huge help to me in terms of keeping that in mind, because there is something quite magical that happens in a room when you're doing art therapy. So I've done some work with mothers and children, and I was really lucky actually to get a little bit of seva to do with Khalsa Aid to go to Iraq and do a little bit of work with mums and kids there and women there. But I think in starting to learn more about the joining between perinatal and then the art therapy, there's some research more in America. There's not enough research in the UK that does show when there is sort of expectant mothers or mothers working with newborns and toddlers and doing little bits of art, just touching the materials, being quite playful, it aids the child's development. It also increases the bond between mother and child, which is a huge thing. If that maternal bond is there, then it promotes a lot of resilience, better self-esteem, and then better mental health. So later on down the line, we kind of work with people across the board, don't we, from
Yes.
children to adults. So we see people a bit later on, and if the work is done early, they're not going to get there. So I think there should be more of a focus on, and I tend to focus with people I work with on thinking about, like Prabhjot was saying, about the sensory elements, about that attachment, about expression in a way which suits them. And so far in the work, it does just work.
Prabhjot, if you do get a mother from the Asian community or Sikh community and she wanted to access the services, what would you say to her to put her mind at ease and to come and speak to someone like yourself, which is what?
Sure. I think the first thing is to break this idea that we're here to make judgment about anyone that wants to access art therapy. We're not here to interpret anyone's artwork. We're here to help them facilitate a dialogue and an understanding about what is going on for them, where the pain exists from. And a lot of that does go really deep. We have to be really honest with this work. It's a lot of heavy work, and it takes a lot of courage just to enter the room. So I would give them reassurance that for you just coming and talking to me about that, it's a huge step. The biggest thing that people find hard is actually just admitting that something's wrong and they need support. Because, again, there's a shame around actually needing to seek help and seek support, especially when it comes to your mental health and feeling emotionally unstable.
ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਭਜੋਤ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰੈਗਨੈਂਸੀ ਥਰੂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਭਜੋਤ ਇਸ ਸਵਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਉੱਥੇ ਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਡਰੋ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਇੰਟਰਪ੍ਰੀਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਨ ਹਲਕਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਦੁੱਖ 'ਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਦੁੱਖ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਕਿ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਈ ਦੁੱਖ ਜੋ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਲੰਬੇ ਅਰਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਜੋ ਲੰਬੇ ਅਰਸੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੋਣ ਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਜੋ ਵੱਡੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹ ਜੋ ਦੁੱਖ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੀ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਕਹਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਆਸਾਨ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਪਰ ਜੋ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜੋ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣ ਜੋਗੇ ਨਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਿਖਤ ਰੂਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਡਰਾਇੰਗ ਥਰੂ ਜਾਂ ਆਰਟ ਥਰੂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਨੇ ਲੋਕ ਨਾਲ ਮਦਦ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ Is art therapy just art or is it different forms of art? I'm intrigued.
So you can have different forms of creative therapies where it comes under umbrella of creative therapies, and creative is anything that allows you to activate the creative part of your mind. So that can be music therapy, it can be drama therapy, and play therapy, and all these tools could suit an individual. It's very much to each person's needs. So someone might be really interested in music and find peace in listening to music and even maybe making music. So they might use that.
So is that part of the art therapy remit, to use music, drama, movement therapy?
Again, in accordance to if they're quite strict, it depends on how they are with their boundaries. They might consider keeping that the remit, and that you do need to be able to make art to actually take part in the therapy.
We mentioned earlier about community well-being and community well-help. What's all that about?
So community mental health is what I think of it is that it's that hub for anybody out there who wishes to actually access therapeutic services and feel that they need to speak to somebody, and you can access this through self-referral, through the GP, through a local hospital, and it's a place for you to come to where you can meet one-to-one with therapists and discuss what is currently going on for you and what experiences you're having, why you might be feeling loss, bereavement, and the emotions that come with it, and how we can best support you through that.
Jaspal, you're a founder of JKL Art Therapy. What is JKL Art Therapy?
JKL Art Therapy. I suppose it's a space where what I noticed is going to speak to people within our community that there were a lot of things that I wanted to speak about were deemed as taboo. So I couldn't talk about sort of the depth of abuse in terms of sexual abuse, satanic abuse. I've worked with a lot of that, domestic violence, a lot of the things that we kind of, I feel that we need to address and how they affect us, even if we haven't personally experienced it. But I mean, we all know people who have been in distress at some point, and I think it was very difficult to have those conversations. Not only that, there were a lot of people who were suffering from our own community, who were sort of silently suffering or getting to the point where they were in crisis. So a lot of my work in West London, I worked in acute mental health units, so in the hospitals with men and women at their lowest points, and then also in crisis teams. So a lot of it was thinking about risk and how to manage that. But when they went back home, there wasn't enough. There were the community mental health teams, yes, but I think in London they're quite under-resourced, and they weren't accessing therapy. So they were getting medication and they were getting that one-to-one time, but they weren't accessing therapy. So my thinking was very natural in terms of, wouldn't it be great to share art therapy with our community in a way where it's not threatening. So I'm not saying, you know, tell me everything about you in such a way where I think our community can find that confrontational. I would find it confrontational, having done art therapy myself. But I think that was the aim of the project, and at the moment, it's actually going. It's going okay. It's going well, and the people are using the service, and that's what it's all about.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds like a great opportunity. If you want to Google Jaspal Kaur, or we can give you details after the show. Prabhjot, final words, take away for our viewers at home. What would you say?
If you want to access the service, please do get in touch. You can talk to your GP, you can talk to your local hospitals, your community mental health hubs, charities, really much getting involved as well. And it's going beyond words. The work that we do is not just about being able to vocally talk about things, but create things. And we hope to help individuals uncover more about themselves.
Jaspal, what would you like to give the last thoughts to our viewers?
That was quite well said, but I suppose I'd just say that, I mean, sitting up here and being called an expert doesn't feel as deserving, because just to stress the importance of anybody approaching us or approaching me has something to teach me. So I think it's not someone at a different level, or we don't hold power in having this training and having this experience. We're all human, and we can all be susceptible to feeling that pain and that sort of excluding from things that we love and things that are true to us. So just to stress that if you do need help and there are things that you're struggling with, it's okay to come forward. We're not going to judge you. A lot of fears are around, will my children be removed from me if I say, you know, this is happening to me? That's not the case. You know, you have a lot of support and access before that would ever happen.
Guys, we're coming to the end of our show. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Prabhjot and Jaspal and Kiran, who came onto our show. What we talked about today is quite powerful and quite deep, talking about art therapy, but also parental care and parental mental health, where the woman goes through quite a lot pre and post as well, and it can be quite a stressful thing. We've literally touched the tip of the iceberg, and there's quite a lot that we can do, but hopefully we're just covering the basics of it. ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਪੈਰੈਂਟਲ ਕੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਰਟ ਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਘੰਟੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਕਾਫੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ चीज़ है जो कर सकते हैं मदद भी हैगी है बस हम लोड़ है कि मदद देखने वास्ते कई तरह के जीपी को जा सकते हैं कई तुम अपने खुद इंटरनेट राही ऑनलाइन भी देख सकते हो तो कई तरह तुम साड़ी टेलीफोन बाद खुली है जो तुम प्रभजोत नाल जसपाल नाल या कि ना गल भी करना चाहते हो ना सारा नंबर स्क्रीन पर है तुम आप सानू फोन करके गल भी कर सकते हो It's an interesting journey for me going through mental health and having experts on the show and it's quite difficult especially hearing it from a male perspective from what a woman goes through as well which can be quite eye-opening as well. Just want to say thank you to every viewer who's called in today. Thank you for you guys who are watching at home. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort. Next week we've got another tough subject of bereavement, grief and loss. And it will bring out quite a lot. We've got experts in all three areas that will be talking to us from there. अगले हफ्ते से काफ़ी डूंगे विचार करेंगे अफसोस दुख ते विछोड़े उत्ते गल करेंगे तो जो साढ़े एक्सपर्ट जो आए हैं काफ़ी उन्होंने नॉलेज है कि गल करनी किद्दां करनी है जो तुसी अपने अफसोस दुखी विछोड़े उत्ते गल करनी है अगले हफ्ते का शो तुसी देखना चाहिए guys next week's show is a must watch show as well like today. Fantastic guests, expert opinions being said. Just want to say a big thank you to you guys, and I shall see you in the next show. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.